Good morning, students. Welcome back. Welcome back to the session of problem solving methodology. So, today's class we will be discussing problem solving methodology, and today's topic is the continuation to problem solving methodology, that is control statements. And we will be discussing the different programming techniques and problem solving techniques. So, welcome to chapter number 5, problem solving methodology, part number 18. Let's quickly have a recap of the topics what we have studied in our previous session. So, in the previous session we have discussed the switch statement, then the looping statements. In looping statement we have studied while statement and do while statement. So, we will be continuing looping structures, and today's class we will be discussing the for statement. So, here we have for construct or for statement. For is a looping construct, and as I told earlier, there are two types of looping constructs, that is conditional and unconditional. So, this comes to the category of unconditional looping constructs. So, let us see what for statement is. For is a fixed execution structure. So, we need to know how many times the statement has to be executed repeatedly, and the structure uses either incrementing or decrementing values. So, you can see here the general form of for loop. For followed by three expressions, expression 1, expression 2 and expression 3, and let us see what expression 1 is. Expression 1 is the initialization expression, expression 2 is the condition, expression 3 is the increment or decrementing expression. So, if the condition is true, these are the statements which are executed repeatedly, and this is the condition. If the condition is true, the statements are executed. If the condition is false, statements are not executed. Let's see an example so that you understand what expression 1 is, what the condition is, and what are the increment and decrementing expressions. So, as you can see here, for loop has three statements. The first statement is the initialization statement, expression 1, expression 2 is the condition, and expression 3 is the increment or decrement expression. If it is true, if condition is true, then statements are executed. Till the condition is true, the statements are executed repeatedly. Once the condition is false, control comes out of the loop. This is the condition, and if it is true, you can see here control comes here, and the statements are executed. Again this is repeated. So, repeated till the condition is given condition is true. Once the given condition is false, the control comes out of the loop. So, for example, sum is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ 1 ಇದೆ, I ಎಷ್ಟಾಗೋವರೆಗೂ 10 ಆಗೋವರೆಗೂ. What are we doing here? We are adding sum is equal to sum plus I. So, sum is 0, 0 plus I is 1, 1 is added to sum. This repeats, I plus plus, I will become 2, 2 less than 10, true. Again sum is equal to sum plus I, sum is 1, 1 plus 2, that is 3. I plus plus, I becomes 3, again this repeats. So, as you can see here, there are three types of statements used in the statement. One is the first statement, I is equal to 0, or I is equal to 1, whatever it may be. The second one is the condition, and third is the incrementing or decrementing expression. So let's see how the execution takes place. So first, a condition is tested. If the condition is true, then the statements are executed, and then update counter. Counter is nothing but expression 3. That will be incremented I. So for example, you can see here I plus plus. I plus plus means I value will be 1, plus plus ಅಂದರೆ increment by 1. So 1 ಇದ್ರೆ 2 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, 2 ಇದ್ರೆ 3 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So plus plus, the job of plus plus is to increment the value by 1. So I can see here. So we are using a for statement. In the for statement, we are initializing I is equal to 1. Then we are using I is less than or equal to 10. If it is true, then we are adding I value to sum. So this is about the for loop. Let's study the characteristics of a good program. The best program to solve a given problem is which requires less space. A program, we can say it is best when it uses the less space, and also it takes less time for the execution, and it allows, or it should be easy to debug and maintain or modify. So the characteristics of a good program is to solve a given problem. When we write a program, if that program takes less space and it takes less time to get executed, then it should be easy to modify, and it should be easy to portable. Portable means exchange between the devices. Modifications. So modifications means making any changes. A good program should allow modifications, changes to the program. Portability. Portability means a good program should allow the programs to be moved or exchanged from one device to another device. So this is about the characteristics of a good program. Now we have approaches to problem solving. There are different ways in which the problems can be solved. Let us see what are the different approaches that are available. The first approach is top-down design. So top-down design means what? In top-down design, when we try to solve a problem, say problem A, we don't solve the problem A as one problem. Instead, we divide problem A into sub-problems. And again, we divide sub-problem into sub-sub-problems. Top-down analysis or top-down design means here we divide a problem into several sub-problems until we get a solution. Top-down analysis or top-down design means here a given problem is not solved as a single unit. Instead, that problem is broken down into smaller units or sub-problems, and then for the sub-problems the programming statements are written so that the problem get solved. As you see in the example, we have a problem A. Problem A is not solved as one single problem, a big problem A. Instead, problem A is further divided into B, C and D. So problem B is again divided into E and F. So for problem C is not divided. It's not necessary, compulsory divide ಆಗಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. So problem D. again it is divided into G and H. So top down design means, so top down design involves a dividing of a problem into sub problems, and sub problems are further divided into smaller problems until we get a solution or the implementation for the smallest problem. So here A is the main problem and we have sub problems B, C, D, and for B there is again a sub problem E and F. So this type of approach is called top down design. The next problem solving approach is stepwise refinement. So what is stepwise refinement? Top down design is a given problem is further divided into smaller units, and stepwise refinement means, so the process of breaking down the problem at each stage to obtain a computer solution. So that is called stepwise refinement. So the most effective way to solve a complex problem is to break it down. So we break down, as we know that a problem is broken down into smaller units and they are further broken down into smaller units. Stepwise refinements, when the broken down problem again we are finding the computer solution. For example, A was divided into B, C and D. B was divided into E and F. So now for E we will write a computer based solution. For F we write the steps required. For B we write steps required. Like that we solve the entire problem. That type of approach is called stepwise refinement. Next comes the bottom up design. So generally in the coming chapters you will be studying programming in C++, where you will be writing programs, and here we are using bottom up approach. The object oriented programming, by this time you must be familiar with object oriented programming. In object oriented programming it uses bottom up approach. What is that bottom up approach? It is the reverse of top down design. A design method in which the details are developed first, then the process is developed. First we go about the details and then we go about the problem. This approach is the reverse of top down design. So here the process starts with identification of set of modules. First we decide on the set of modules that are required. Then an attempt is made to combine the modules from the lower level to the higher level. So here bottom up design means first we go about the details and then we solve the problem. So first we identify the modules required, we design the modules, and then we combine the lower level modules and upper level modules to form the complete solution. For example, C++ uses object oriented programming and that works on the bottom up approach. So this is about the bottom up design or bottom up approach. So this is about the problem solving techniques. Let's move on to the programming techniques. So now the programming techniques, first one we have unstructured programming. Programming technique is nothing but we write a program in some style or the method or some procedure is used to write programs. And the first programming technique is here, that is unstructured programming. Unstructured programming, it is generally used by the beginners who are very new to the programming. So whenever a person starts learning a programming, they start writing simple and small programs. So this technique allows a user to write simple and small programs. That is called unstructured programming. Let us see what is there in a unstructured programming program. So here there is a program and there is one main program and there is data. So unstructured programming is one of the programming technique which is used by the beginners who write simple and small programs. And in unstructured programming there is one program and there is only one program, that is main program, and there is main program's data. So that is called unstructured programming. So then we have procedural programming. What is this procedural programming? So procedural programming means there is one main program and there are many other small programs. So just have a look. This is how a procedural programming works. So here there is one main program and there are number of procedures. Procedures are nothing but small programs, sub programs. So here we have one main program, and in every programming there is one, definitely there is one main program from where the execution starts. In unstructured programming there is only one main program and program's data. Whereas in procedural programming there is one main program and many procedures. Procedures means small programs. So small programs that will do a specific task. There are n number of procedures, procedure A, procedure B, procedure X, Y and Z, like that they can have n number of procedures. So in procedure programming, as you see, there is one main program and many procedures. Here the task is divided and each procedure will do one specific task. Whereas in unstructured programming, everything is done by main program. But here the work is divided, the task is divided. Each procedure will do one specific task. So there is one main program and there can be many procedures. Let's go back to the definition of the procedure programming. So let's just study how procedural programming works. This method allows us to combine returning of the sequence of statements into one single place. A procedure call is used to invoke the procedure. After the sequence is processed, flow of control proceeds right after the position where the call was made. Procedure is the subprogram, or procedure is a subprogram that can be written as more structured and error free. So as you can see here, there is n number of procedures and there is only one main function. Each procedure will do a specific task. Let us see how the procedure execution takes place. So as you can see here, the execution always starts from main. Execution will start from main. There is a call. From here the statements are executed. There is a call made. As you can see that call procedure 1. As soon as the call is made, the control goes to the procedure and it starts executing the statements which are in the procedure. And after that again it comes back to the main and main program continues. It's something like you are watching or you are watching a video in your phone. There is one call, incoming call. Then video play paused, it will get paused, and then the call, you can receive the call. Till you receive the call, the video will not be played. Once you complete the call, the phone comes back to playing the video. So there will be main program execution. So main program run ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Once there is a call made to the procedure. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ this is the main program and it will be executing. And there is a call made, call proc1. Control goes to procedure 1 and it will start executing. As you can see here, it will execute the program. So program in procedure 1. Procedure 1 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿ that will be executed. And after executing, control again returns back. So to the main program and then it continues the main program. So this is how a procedure is executed. As I told you, there is one main procedure, one main program and there are n number of procedures. Procedures are nothing but the small programs. From the main program, a procedure is called and that will get executed. So after execution, it is something like it's a small program. Whenever you want to run that small program, you will call that program from main. When you call that program, control will go to that program, that small program, and that small program will get executed. After executing small program, again control returns back to the main program and it continues the execution of the main program. This is how a procedure is executed in procedural programming. Then we have modular programming. So what is modular programming? So modular programming means the process of again dividing the program, complex program into smaller units called modules. So like a module can have n number of procedures. So in procedural programming, there is one main program and there are n number of procedures. And procedure means small programs. In modular programming, there is one main program and there are n number of modules. Each module can have n number of procedures. Just have a look of the structure so that you will understand. Main program and there are module 1 and module 2. Module 1 can have n number of procedures. So as you can see in the second picture, so you can see here there is one main program and there are two modules. A module can have any number of procedures within it. You can have a group of procedures stored in the module. So let's go back to the definition of modular programming. So modular programming is dividing lengthier and complex program into smaller units called modules, and the process of dividing is called modularization. And if we use programming to do that, it is called modular programming. So how is it helpful to us? So this technique helps in grouping the procedures. As we know that procedure is a small program. So we can group, we can collect many procedures into one module. So what are the advantages? The advantages of modular programming is reusability, debugging is easier, and we can build the library and portability. We can create our own library. So this is how a modular programming looks like. There is one main program and there can be n number of modules, and each module in turn can have n number of procedures within it. Next comes the structured programming. We have been discussing something called control statements. Control statements, we studied sequence, selection and iteration. Sequence, selection and iteration. If we write a program using these statements, that is called structured programming. Structured programming is a method in which the programs are written using sequence, selection, iteration and procedures or subroutines. Sequence can include a input, output and assignment statement. A selection can include if, else, simple if else, nested if, and the iteration statement can include while, do while and for. What are subroutines? Subroutine is nothing but the procedural programming. There is one main program and many procedures. So you can see here, if a program is written using sequence, selection and looping, so that type of programming is called a structured programming. So sequence, selection and repetition. Sequence, as you know, input, output and processing. Selection, if, else if, switch. Then we have repetition or looping structure or iterative structure, which includes while, do while and for. We have not discussed continue and break statement, that we will be discussing in later on chapters. Let's have a blueprint discussion. Let us have a look of the blueprint of this particular chapter. So the blueprint of the chapter says that from this chapter you will get one 1-mark question, one 2-mark question and one 3-mark question and one 5-mark question, in total 11 marks from this particular. So total 11 marks will come from this chapter. So this is about problem solving methodology, and problem solving methodology is one of the important chapter as it forms base for your further studies in first PU syllabus and also second PUC syllabus. Hope you have understood today's topic. Today we discussed for loop and we discussed the problem solving approaches, that is top down design, then bottom up approach and stepwise refinement. Top down design means given problem is not solved as a single unit. Instead, the problem is broken down into smaller units and then it is solved. Stepwise refinement means for the divided problem we find the computer based solution. Then we have bottom approach. First we go about the problem and then we design the modules and then we join the modules. Then we have programming techniques. In programming techniques we use unstructured programming. Generally a beginners who write small programs, they use unstructured programming. Then we have structured programming where we use programming constructs such as say programming constructs to construct the to write the program, that is selection, sequence and iteration. So then we have modular programming and procedural programming. Procedure means one main program, there are n number of procedures. Whereas in modular programming there is one main program and number of modules. Each module will have it can have a set of procedures. And then we have one more programming approach, that is object oriented programming techniques, that we will be studying as a separate chapter. Hope you have understood today's class. In case if you have any doubts, kindly write down the doubts, and when you come to the Zoom meeting, kindly approach, ask the doubts and you can clarify your doubts. In case if you have not understood anything, you can approach me in the Zoom meeting so that I can explain the concept again. Thanks for your patience listening, my dear students. Have a great day ahead. God bless you. all. Thank you.